We go into the history of Jainism. Jainism dates back to the 6th century BCE in India. The religion derives its name from the Jainas, that is, conquerors, a title given to 24 teachers, Tirthankaras or ford makers, through whom their faith was revealed. Mahavira, the last of the Tirthankaras, is considered the founder of Jainism. The ultimate goal of Jainism is the liberation of self or the jiva from rebirth, which is attained through the elimination of the accumulated karma, the consequences of previous actions. This occurs through both the disciplined cultivation of knowledge and the control of bodily passions. So the history that dates back to 6th century BCE, and they are called, this very word Jainism comes from the Jaina or the victors, or they are called the Tirthankaras, and there are 24 of them. Mahavira being the last, he is said to be the founder who gave the present shape to Jainism. And after that, nobody has been named as a Tirthankaras. Will there be? We cannot say. There may be. The possibility is always open to that. This occurs, and then what is the belief that they have is that the jiva is to strive for liberation. That is the ultimate goal of Jainism is that there is a liberation of the self or jiva from rebirth. The common understanding in the Eastern religion is that of the rebirth, one of the main aspects which we find. So till the soul reaches that liberation, and wherein no more of the rebirth, till then it has to undergo the process of samsara, birth, death, rebirth, and it goes on and on till it is able to or made free from the karmic effects or the accumulated karma, the consequences of the previous actions. This occurs through the disciplined cultivation of knowledge and control of bodily passions, according to Jainism, how to free the self. When the passions have been utterly conquered and all karmas has been removed, one becomes a Jaina or a conqueror. So the very word Jaina, the victor, the conqueror, is about, or conqueror of the passion that utterly conquered, or one that was conquered, all karmas has been removed. So a conqueror is in a position to overcome or conquer all the karmas that has been accumulated, and becomes a Jaina or a victor, and is no longer subjected to death and no more subjected to rebirth. Jainism conceives of a multi-layered universe containing both heavens and hells. Movement through these levels of universe requires adherence to the Jainism doctrine, emphasizing a peaceful and disciplined life. The conception of the entire universe is containing both the multi-layered universe containing both heavens and hells. Movement through these, the heavens and hells, requires adherence to Jainism doctrines, emphasizing the peaceful and disciplined life. The principles include, and what are the principles including in Jainism? Include non-violence in all parts of life. So total ahimsa, or that is the whole, that means complete non-violence is to be practiced in verbal, physical and mental. So all type of actions. These principles include non-violence in all parts of life, verbal life, physical and mental. speaking truth, sexual monogamy, and the detachment from the material things as part of the disciplined and non-violent lifestyle. Jains typically are strict vegetarians and often adhere to quite arduous practice of non-violence, which restricts the sorts of occupation they may follow. No farming, for instance, since insects are inadvertently harmed by plowing. Jainism's ethical system is based on the idea that right faith, right knowledge, right conduct must be cultivated simultaneously. So the main principles include non-violence in all areas of one's life, especially that is pertaining to the human being, verbal, physical and mental. Verbal, physical and mental. If a man can take care of this principle in these three realms, he is said to be a person of integrity. And then what is the other principles to be practiced? Speaking the truth, sexual monogamy, and the detachment from the material things are the part of the disciplined and the non-violent lifestyle. Jains typically are strict vegetarians. In order to fulfill this strict non-violence, they are vegetarians and do not adhere to quite arduous practice, and they often adhere to quite arduous practice of non-violence. So strict non-violence is to be practiced by every Jain. So it is not an easy process or easy principles to follow, to put it into practice. That is, even the farming is not done normally. What is the cultivation? Because they fear that they are going to really harm some of the insects. They will not drink water in the night or keep the glass open in the fear that some insect may fall in and then die. Like that, so many practices. Even when they sweep the floor, they do it so gently in order not to harm any insects, or before they walk on the floor, they sweep it across before them, so that they don't inadvertently even may harm one of the insects living there. So that's a strict way of practicing the ahimsa. Jainism doesn't have a single founder, although Mahavira is given the title of the founder of Jainism. Actually, he is not the only founder. There were 23 before him, and he happened to give shape to the present form of the Jainism. So Jainism doesn't have a single founder. The truth has been revealed at different times by a Tirthankara, which means a teacher who makes effort, that is, show the way. Other religions call such persons a prophet. So in Jainism, they are called the teachers, or one who shows the way, or one who takes the lead and show that it's possible to liberate one's soul from all the karmic principle. He is called the Tirthankara, or the teacher, or one who makes the effort. And in other religions, such people are called a prophet. As great omniscient teachers, Tirthankaras accomplished the highest spiritual goal of existence and then teach others how to achieve it. So these are the people, the Tirthankaras. So they have shown, or they have taught themselves, plus they want to teach others how to achieve that. In what Jains call the present age, there have been 24 Tirthankaras, although there is little evidence for the existence of most of these. So we do not have so much of evidence for all the 23 of them, but about Mahavira and just the one previous to him, perhaps some evidence is there. Regarding the other 22 or 21 of them, perhaps there is hardly any trace of them, not much material is left about their life and the evidences are not there. Who are the Tirthankaras? This is one of the major concern of Jainism. Tirthankara, or the aim is to liberate oneself from the clutches of the karma or from the rebirth. Rebirth is a sign that you have not been released or your soul is still under the clutches of the karmic principles. Therefore, birth, death, rebirth goes on and on in the cyclic way in the samsara. So you are still in the samsara. So this has to be stopped. And the stoppage is the moment when the soul is released and lives in a bliss, no more of rebirth. That is the stage. So Tirthankaras, who are the Tirthankaras? A Tirthankara appears in the world to teach the way of moksha or liberation. A teacher, Tirthankara, one who shows the way, he appears in the world to show the way to moksha or liberation. A Tirthankar is not an incarnation of God, so we should not mistake him with the idea of God. He is not an incarnation of God. He is an ordinary soul that is born as a human and attains the states of a Tirthankar as a result of intense practices of penance, equanimity and meditation. Penance, equanimity and meditation. As such, the Tirthankar is not defined as an avatar, a God incarnate, but is the ultimate pure developed state of a soul. So a Tirthankar is not the incarnation of a God. He is an ordinary soul that is born as a human and attains the states of a Tirthankar as a result of intense practices of penance, equanimity and meditation. So these are the ways to free the soul from the clutches of karma, the principles of karma or karmic principles, and allow that soul to be in a state of liberation. And the Tirthankars are those who have achieved that. So Tirthankar is not to be defined as an avatar, a God incarnate, but is the ultimate pure developed state of the soul. So everyone can attain that, achieve that. And it is not that God is going to give you that grace as such, or some God from above, a supreme God. That concept is not there in Jainism. The very fact why it is being classified into a heterodox system is on account of that. They don't have that belief in a creator God or an omnipotent God who controls. For them it is not. For Jainism as well as Buddhism plus materialism, they do not agree on that. So they do not consider that. So pure materialism, then comes the Buddhism and Jainism as a heterodox religion or unorthodox religion. They are. So Tirthankaras are not God incarnate, but they are human beings. Ordinary soul that is born as a human being and attains the states of a Tirthankar as a result of intense practices of penance, equanimity and meditation. Tirthankars were not founders of any religion, but great omniscient teachers who lived at various times in man's cultural history. So who are they? They are not founders of any religion, but they are great omniscient teachers, all-knowing teachers who lived at various times in human's history. They accomplished the highest spiritual goal of existence and then taught their contemporaries the way to reach by crossing over the safe shores of spiritual purity. To cross over to the safe shores of spiritual purity. So Tirthankars are not founders of any religion. They were ordinary human souls who have attained a state of liberation through austere practices of penance, equanimity, and meditation. So 3 things. If you are also willing to practice that, then surely you also will be in that position. That's what Tirthankaras taught the human beings. So it is not an impossible thing, every one of you. And do not lean on to a God who is going to help you. That concept is not there. Neither another spiritual being is going to come of your assistance. They can only show the way, but it is you who have to ultimately do it. Do it yourself, and that seems to be the very religion, the practice. So it's a self-help religion, and nobody is going to come of your assistance. So each new Tirthankara preaches the same basic Jain philosophy, but they give the Jain way of life subtly different forms in order to suit the age, the culture in which they teach. So there is the unanimity regarding the content of what they teach, but some difference is found, only that is to suit the culture, the age in which they teach. So in all, we have 24 Tirthankaras up to this present age, and some of the names of these are Adinath, Achita, Sambhava, Abhinanantha, Sumati, Padmaprabha, Suprasha, Chandraprabha, Sivati, Shithal, Shreyasena, Vyasapujya, Vimala, Ananta, Dharma, Shanti, Kuntu, Ara, Malli, Muni, Suartha, Nami, Nemi, Parshva, and Mahavira. So 24 names are there. Shvetambara, then there is Parshva, and Mahavira is the last one. Shvetambara Jains believe that Tirthankaras can be men or women. There are 2 sects two bigger divisions in the Jainism. That is Digambaras and Shvetambaras. So Digambaras, that is sky-clad, and Shvetambara, white-clad. So the white-clad monks, or those group, Shvetambara Jains believe that Tirthankaras can be men or women, and say that Malli began her life as a princess. But Digambara Jains believe that women cannot be Tirthankaras, and that Malli was a man. So there is a major or a difference or divergent opinion regarding the two here. That is the 2 groups, the Shvetambaras and Digambaras. Shvetambara believe that both the Tirthankaras can be man or woman. Whereas Digambaras, they contest that point and say that women cannot be Tirthankara, only men can be. What about Parshva? There is some historical evidence for the earthly existence of the 23rd Tirthankara, Parshva, who lived about 250 years before Mahavira. So some evidence is there. Prior to that, from 21st up to 21st, there is no evidence. Only the up to 22. 23rd, there is some evidence, and 24th, there is more evidence. And 23rd Tirthankara, there is Parshva, who lived 250 years before Mahavira. In his time, 4 of the 5 Jain principles of non-violence, truthfulness, not stealing, and not owning things were part of Jainism. Chastity was added by the next Tirthankara, Mahavira. So Parshva had only 4 Mahavritas, and they were of non-violence, truthfulness, not stealing, and not owning things. were the part of Jainism. Chastity, that is brahmacharya, that was added by Tirthankara Mahavira. Now Mahavira, who is he? Mahavira. Mahavira is regarded as the man who gave Jainism its present day form, although this is true only in the widest sense. He is sometimes wrongly called the founder of Jainism. Actually, all the 23 of them have given some input into the Jainism. So each one in his age has taught them the way of liberation. And the 24th, that is Mahavira, happened to give shape to the present form of Jainism, and therefore he is wrongly perhaps given the title of the founder of Jainism. Early life of Mahavira. Who was Mahavira? Mahavira was originally born as Vardhamana in the northeast India in 599 BC. That's a traditional date, but some of the modern scholars prefer 540 BC or even later. So Mahavira was born as Vardhamana in the northeast India. He was a prince, the son of the king Siddhartha and queen Trishala, who were members of the Kshatriya warrior caste and followers of the teachings of Parshva. So that's an indication that Parshva or his teaching existed prior to the present, that is Mahavira, 250 years before. So his, that is Vardhamana Mahavira's parents, he was a prince, the son of king of Siddhartha and queen Trishala, who are members of the Kshatriya, that's warrior caste, and followers of the teachings of Parshva. Mahavira becomes an ascetic. Then what has happened to him? How or what happened to the son of Siddhartha and Trishala? When Prince Vardhamana reached 30 years of age, not long after the death of his both parents, he left the royal palace to live the life of an ascetic or a sadhana, one who renounces all worldly pleasures and comforts. So more or less similar to that of the Buddhism, what happened to Gautama Buddha, what disturbed him, that is at an age of a young age, he leaves all the comforts of the palace. He goes in search of the one thought which was disturbing him, why there is suffering in the world. A similar story is there with regard to Mahavira, that is Vardhamana Mahavira, when he reached the age of 30 years. Not long after the death of both his parents, he left the royal palace to live the life of an ascetic or a sadhana, one who renounces all worldly pleasures and comforts. He spent 12 and a half years subjecting himself to extremely long, arduous periods of fasting and meditation. So that's what the Vardhamana Mahavira did. So leaving behind all the comforts and the pleasures of life, he goes and sits in meditation for long, long hours. Eventually his efforts bore fruit, and Mahavira attained Kaivalyan or enlightenment, and therefore was later called Mahavira. The name is from Maha or great, and Veera is the hero. The Mahavira, the great hero. The names is from Maha means great and Veera means hero. So through his ardent practice of strict fasting and meditation, that bore fruit, and he attained Kaivalyan, that is enlightenment, and therefore he was called Mahavira, the great hero. Mahavira, the teacher. Now, what did he teach? From the day forward, Mahavira taught the path he discovered to other seekers. So he becomes a teacher now. Tirthankara, one who is showing the way. His teaching career lasted until his physical death 527 BCE according to Shwetambara texts. When he was 72 years old, after the final period of intensive fasting, he obtained moksha, the final liberation from all rebirth. So when he was 72 years old, that is, the death is mentioned in the Shwetambara text. After a final period of intensive fasting, he attained moksha, the final liberation from all rebirth. Mahavira added the principle of chastity to the 4 Jain principles or the Mahavritas already given by Parshva: non-violence, no lying, no stealing, no possessions. These were the 4 Mahavritas given by Parshva, and Mahavira added one more to that, that is the chastity or brahmacharya. According to tradition, Mahavira is said to have established a community of 14,000 monks and 36,000 nuns before he died. But he certainly did create a large and loyal monastic ascetic mendicant community inspired by his teaching. One of his immediate disciples, Jambu, was the last person in his age to achieve enlightenment. So did anyone receive enlightenment? Yes, one is mentioned. Jambu, his immediate disciple, was the one who attained this enlightenment. Now, what are the contributions which Mahavira done to Jainism? One is that by adding one more Mahavrita to already 4 existing Vritas given by Parshva, and the 5th one was added by Mahavira, Vardhamana Mahavira. Lord Mahavir and Jain religion. Lord Mahavir was the 24th and the last Tirthankara of the Jain religion. According to Jain philosophy, all Tirthankaras were born as human beings, but they have attained a state of perfection or enlightenment through meditation and self-realization. They are the gods of Jains. Tirthankaras are also known as Arhidans or Jinas. So we have totally denied a creator God, or all-powerful God who is distributing, that is the more good and bad as such, or the one who sits in judgment. That type of God is not existing in Jainism. But for them, who are the gods, the so-called gods are the Tirthankaras. So Lord Mahavir was the 24th and the last Tirthankara of the Jain religion. According to Jain philosophy, all Tirthankaras were born as human beings, but they have attained a state of perfection or enlightenment through meditation and self-realization. So that is what is the positive point for them. They are the gods of Jains. Tirthankaras are also known as Arhidans or Jinas or victors. Tirthankara, one who establishes the fourfold order. Tirthankara is the one who establishes the fourfold order: monk, nun, layman and laywoman of religion. That is the Tirthankara, one who establishes the fourfold order. And Tirthankara is the one or the teacher who has really crossed over the ford or the teachers and showing others to live and lead that the life of the liberation, how to liberate the soul from the clutches of the karmic principles. The term Arhyant, what is that? One who destroys his inner enemies like anger, greed, passion, ego, etc. They are called the Arhidans. So Tirthankara, one who establishes the fourfold order: nuns, monks, lay persons and lay man and lay woman. So fourfold order, and teaching them the methods through which they will be able to liberate. Arhyanth is the one who destroys his inner enemies like anger, greed, passion, ego, etc. And who is Jina? One who conquers his inner enemies like anger, greed, passion, etc. The followers of Jina are all also known as Jains. Jina Jains. Or they are these are called the Tirthankaras, Arhyans and Tirthankaras. One who conquers, then now we come to the Jina, one who conquers these inner enemies like anger, greed, passion, ego, etc. They are called the Jinas, and the followers of Jina are called Jains. He organized his followers into fourfold order, namely monk, that is sadhu, nun, sadhvi, layman, shravak, and laywoman, shravika, and later on they were known as Jains. So they were the fourfold division or categorization of the entire Jain body: nuns, monks, layman, laywoman. The ultimate objective of the teaching is how one can attain the total freedom from the cycle of birth, life, pain, misery, and death, and achieve permanent bliss state of one's self, permanent blissful state of one's self. This is also known as liberation, nirvana, absolute freedom, or moksha, according to Jainism. The ultimate objective of the teaching is how one can attain the total freedom from the cycle of birth, life, pain, misery, death, and achieve permanent blissful state of the self. This is also known as liberation, nirvana, absolute freedom, or moksha. What is the path of liberation? How do you liberate? The ultimate end and purpose of all life and activity is to realize the free and blissful state of our true being. True philosophy in Jainism should result in removing all bondages, that karmas, in the process of purifying the soul. The path of liberation is that purifying the soul and allowing it to live in a state of pure bliss. So totally free from all the rebirth. Rebirth is meaning that the soul travels from body to body after the death. The present body travels to another and goes on and on till it is able to stop that rebirth and live in the pure bliss. And that is called the moksha, or absolute freedom, nirvana, according to the Buddhism. The central theme of Jainism considers religion as a science of ethical practice. It conceives the human body as a chariot on which the soul rides towards liberation. The whole body is a chariot on which the soul rides towards liberation. The conduct of the present life should be aimed to attain total freedom, from which there is no return to birth and death and the cycle. Every soul can attain Godhood, that is, supreme spiritual individuality, by realizing its intrinsic purity and perfection. So that is what Jainism proposes and tells others, that each one is in a position to attain that. That is the perfection. An individual in his conduct can be guided by the examples of 5 benevolent personalities, that is Pancha Paramasati. They are supreme human beings, Arhyans, pure or perfect souls, Siddhas, master teachers, Acharyas, scholarly monks, Ubadhyayas, and ascetics by sadhus. So an individual who is on the path of striving towards perfection, of freeing his soul from the rebirth, he can be guided by the examples of 5 benevolent personalities. And these 5 benevolent personalities in Jainism they are supreme human beings. They are called the Arhiyans, and pure or perfect souls, Siddhas, master teachers, Acharyas, and scholarly monks, Upadhyayas, and ascetics, they are the sadhus. Arhiyans are human beings who have attained Keval Jnana and realized perfect vision, knowledge, power, and bliss. They have preached the religion principles. They have preached the religion principles, philosophy of life, and the path of liberation. At the end of their human life, they will be totally liberated, will become Siddhas. So one leading to the other, that is supreme human beings, then souls Siddhas, master teachers, Acharyas, and scholarly monks, Upadhyayas, and ascetics and sadhus. So and the path of liberation. At the end of their human life, they will be totally liberated and will become Siddhas. Siddhas are souls that are completely free from karmic bondage and have attained liberation. So Siddhas seems to be that of the highest point, where they have become completely free from karmic bondage and have attained liberation. Both Arhiyans and Siddhas are the gods of Jain religions. So 2 persons, that is supreme beings, Arhiyans and ascetics, sadhus, they are the gods in the Jain religions. So we can see how that of the Jainism telling that is it is possible for everyone to attain that liberation or the moksha, mukti, what we call. That's nirvana is possible for everybody, provided that you are willing to set yourself on these paths of the real search.